So, and then again, this also is expanded to include signs that hang from the underside of canopies in industrial districts. This is a sort of like a bracket sign, but it hangs from the armature of the structure of the canopy. This is the kind of sign the Commission also approves on a regular basis. So the proposed rule would allow the staff to do that again. It's limiting the size.
How long are you going to close the canopy?
Just the big metal canopies, not a traditional fabric awning. In fact, if someone was proposing a fabric awning and a bracket sign, the staff would say you can't have a staff permit, even though each of those meets their respective rule. The cumulative effect of a small storefront would be overwhelming and therefore would require a hearing. So that's again what Mark is saying, there's a cumulative effect.
You can have an awning without any signage on it, but you can't have an awning with signage and a bracket.
Hanging.
So again, and then the rest of the signs are, flat painted metal, wood signs, or pin-mounted letters or logos, non-illuminated in a traditional sign and location, that the sign size is proportional to the storefront opening, that it cannot be entirely illuminated, although we do allow small neon signs in a display window as long as they don't obscure the transparency. And so we have no event exceeds 4 square feet. So sort of 2 foot by 2 foot sign in the display window. Light fixtures associated with signing in plain masonry, metal or wood, and that the conduit will be concealed. The exterior lights may only illuminate storefronts and related signage. Any signs painted on the glass of doors will not exceed 20% of the glazed area. So again, there's an opportunity for a small neon sign in your window, as long as you can look through the window and see past it. There's an opportunity for some vinyl lettering in the window and some horizontal sign in the sign, the traditional sign band. If the building didn't historically have a sign band, there would be no staff permit for that sign. And the bracket sign, but in no event can you have any of or all of these things at once.
And
No, that is not allowed under the rule and is consistently denied at hearings usually. Yeah, think of any time the commission approved a neon order.
And wall signs?
This doesn't cover painted wall signs.
Does this apply to second story?
If the building has a 2-story storefront extension, yes, it would apply to the second story storefront, but it has to be a storefront.
The word proportional in the storefront, how do you deal with something that's subjective like that?
Well, I think that, it's a question of how, there's a judgment. The staff looks at based on the size, how long is it, how wide is it, how much do we want to use it. And the commissioners, again, the staff sits there and watches the commissioners do this every day. And so I think that there's a sense that about what they do with the letters aren't too big, not too small. And so there is a little bit of a judgment, no doubt about it, but it allows, but I think, again, not only is it, I think it's impossible to be too prescriptive, right? But I also think it's undesirable. I don't think we want there to be a historic district, commercial district. I mean, I think that's deadly for everybody in New York. We want there to be, there's going to be variety, there's going to be quirkiness, there's going to be things, and I think we should celebrate it. I think the commission should be allowing this. I mean, a lot of historical should be gone in the future, so that the quirkiness is okay. Maybe become beloved, quirky members of the community. That's great too. So I think there's always going to be, we don't want to be entirely prescriptive instead. That would be really a dead thing.
Right. So a typical storefront that's a 20-foot width, oftentimes the commission approves sort of 12 to 18-inch high letter, but we wouldn't want to put 12 to 18 inches in here in case we got a smaller building with a smaller storefront. We wouldn't want them to have an 18-inch high sign. So we want to be able to, again, have the ability to reduce something if it warrants it. And also, again, it has to be a traditional location for a sign or sign band, which also sort of defines the size to the size that would have been there historically.
And signage is actually covered under the building code at some point, size.
It is. And again, the attachment details are required to be reversible. So again, these are reversible installations.
Not just for signage, but any of these things, sure. Not just signage, but any of these things that require some amount of discretion from the staff people. I hear what you're saying about not wanting everything to be cookie cutter and allowing a little bit of quirkiness, but you wouldn't want, one rogue staff person to say approved, approved. So could you just give us a sense of, even if an individual staff person says, by my discretion, I approve this, is there still someone, not the commission, but a senior member of staff who still has to oversee that and okay that individual staff member's approval?
Yes. The staff works with my deputy directors and ultimately me. So if there's any question about whether or not something meets a rule, they go to their supervisor, to their deputy director that works with them. And if there's still a question, they come to me. And if I still have a question, I go to Mark.
Well, and so not so much just if the staff person is questioning themselves, but if they say, I am going to approve this because in my reading of what I'm allowed to do, I can. But even without them going to you, do you regularly look at all of those first to say, you've gone too far here? Yes, okay.
And the supervisor may look at something and say, oh, no, wait a minute, you can't do this.
Okay.
I know that this is probably not possible, but is there...
Move on.
Thank you. But is there any way that the public can know that a staff level approval has occurred?
I did question everyone. We told them to ask this question. So the commission, as many people know, we are working in, as with most technology projects, the Department of Defense things keep getting pushed off into the future. But we are putting together a computer system that will be online. Currently, it's scheduled for the spring, summer of this year. That you click on a building or an address, you'll be able to find every commission level permit, every staff level permit, every application that's pending, every violation. So it's, it will be much more. You can see it all, and so you can see what's happening.
So you can see what the status is of appendix.
Yeah, within certain degrees, that's not like every single step of the way. So yes, the answer is there will be publicly available information on things that are happening at staff level.
Good. Thank you.
I was surprised to see canopy, not the metal kind that you would find in industrial areas from, other places, but the typical fabric canopy, which is curved with foam, designed under a section devoted to sign, because in grandfather examples throughout many historic districts, there are canopies, and they're a light on the landscape, they're virtual three-sided signs. You would not want to have a staff member or anybody through canopies of that nature. Why is that in there? That would be, when you say building entrance, it would be the typical building entrance canopy, but that's not signage.
Yeah, I see it in the definition, but I don't actually see it in the...
No, it's not.
I think it's in the definitions because sometimes people confuse awning terminology. Sometimes they'll call an awning a canopy when they mean, right? So it's just to be clear that canopies are actually not included here, but awning, we're talking about awning. However, for large apartment buildings, staff canopies, we got other canopies.
So should we move on to the next?
Well, because we've already covered the roof of it. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So right now, in order to get an expedited review, we need to certify that your application is for interior work only above the second floor. So that means the third floor and up. And that, and then you need to submit affidavits and statements that say that it's above the second story and that it's not going to have any effect on the exterior. And anything inside will be behind the window. And we have, and the reason that it was sort of limited to above the second story was because I think at the time we all thought, people writing the rules thought There could be interior changes at the first floor or the second floor that could potentially have an effect on the exterior. So if a storefront wants to do some changes, they can do some interior partitions that then limit where you can put the door in the storefront. So it could have an effect on the potential new storefront. And so,
And again, so the staff approves, the people build it out, they come to the commission and say, well, we spent all this money on staff permit to sort of put the partition here.
now we want to
And now we want a storefront, and this is like, we're not gonna let you do that because, you know.
you have to have a center door, and
Yeah.
they have their partitions laid out, so they have a door on the side. So, and we still believe that's the case. We don't want to do interior alterations at the ground floor that could affect the exterior or future applications of the exterior. But we are going to include work in the cellar level. We got a lot of applications for new boilers where there's no louvers or no exterior work associated with it, and they don't get to go through the expedited process. So we're going to include basement level, cellar level work as long as there's no louver or any exterior penetration, and as long as there's no excavation that is of any significance.
Okay.
Why is basement included on that? Like buildings like the ones we're looking at right around here have half a level out of the ground easily, that would be considered a basement.
Right, so our feeling is they can have,
In 2 days.
what you're saying is it should say basement, not cellar. That's what you're.
Cellar makes sense, but a basement is many times more visible than the first floor.
Yeah, but no exterior work, it's just, yes, if you look in the window and see that there's something going in, what's the harm?
You know, right now, we can't regulate anything that's 18 inches behind the glass anyway. You can put giant neon signs 18 inches back, which would be much more noticeable than a boiler. It's really intended for that kind of